As America celebrates our 250th year of our country's independence, so many people are reflecting on our history by visiting national parks and visiting museums. But the News 4 I-Team found that thousands of people in our region and all across the country are also documenting that rich history, concerned after calls from the White House to change some of it. Investigative reporter Tracee Wilkins shows us how they're doing that and why they're calling this work their mission.
Rosie Click is happy here in the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery.
So they do just go in chronological order.
Walking among the portraits of the American presidents she studied.
Their text has been replaced with excerpts from a speech.
The Georgetown University history grad student is finding her own place in history by documenting every picture, every sign, every caption on these walls.
It's important to document those things because if you can't trust that they're always going to be there.
Rosie and hundreds of other everyday citizens voluntarily walk the halls of the Smithsonian museums, documenting exhibits as part of a project called Citizen Historians for the Smithsonian. Georgetown history professor Jim Millward helped start the group.
For me, it began last summer when I saw a letter written from the White House to Secretary Lonnie Bunch of the Smithsonian Institution. And it was calling for the Smithsonian to basically provide a transcript of all of the texts that they have in the museum. As we knew from what Doge had done, as we know from the purging of government websites, anything to do with gender, things to do with race, things to do with climate, were all potentially on the block.
Millward says what started as a message on a neighborhood listserv asking for a few volunteers to come to museums armed with cell phones in days quickly spread to hundreds, then thousands, raising their hands to help.
We had too many volunteers for the actual jobs that we had to give them.
Millward says his work was inspired by Save Our Signs, a citizen group that formed in opposition to President Trump's executive order entitled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. It called for a stripping of federal exhibits and educational programs of what the administration deems improper partisan ideology, to restore institutions to a symbol of inspiration and American greatness.
QR codes in parks all around the country asking people to snitch on anything that they saw as potentially DEI related or not telling a positive story about America.
Through a public records request, the News 4 I-Team found how many Americans responded to those QR codes. One response cited an exhibit at the National Archives complaining it contained guilt trips, saying that slave labor was used to build the U.S. Capitol and White House. But an overwhelming number of comments asked that the QR signs be removed and that the work of historians remain as is, with one writing, "Please keep all signage factual, honest, and based on the best efforts of your research historians without regard to emotional or other considerations."
It's been really amazing to see that people do care about their parks and that normal people are willing to go out there and do something in nature, but also stand up for a more complicated and nuanced history.
Michael Corey is a team member and organizer for Save Our Signs. He says his group has collected over 15,000 photos and exhibits in our national parks. Hundreds of signs have been altered, removed, or flagged for removal in the national park system, according to court documents from a lawsuit filed by conservation and historical organizations fighting changes at national parks.
What is being changed?
You'll see sometimes references to slavery at all being taken out. You see you'll see references to the sexual violence that is very prevalent in slavery taken out. They removed the T from LGBTQ at Stonewall. They took down the pride flag at Stonewall. So just things that really are at the core of why these sites exist in the first place.
In June, a federal judge ruled that the Trump administration reinstall signs it removed, saying it not only undermines the integrity of the national parks, it sets a dangerous precedent of censorship and sanitization. A White House spokesperson told the I-Team the administration plans to appeal this heinous order and will not waver in defending America.
What does the work that you all are doing say about where this country is in its 250th year?
I feel like we are joining a very long conversation, and I think some of these ideas about minimizing slavery, for example, like those are not new ideas, and so I think what we're rediscovering at America 250 is that these are always going to be contested, and we're always going to need people to stand up for the truth.
Americans have argued about their history from the beginning. And so as long as that debate, that argument is based on scholarship, as long as that is done with dignity, that's fine.
Richard Curran, Smithsonian Distinguished Scholar and Ambassador at Large, says the Smithsonian supports the work of these citizens.
The Smithsonian belongs to the people of the country. And I'm so happy that people feel a stake in the Smithsonian. It's their Smithsonian. It's wonderful.
And when we look back on this moment and America's 250th year, people like Rosie will take solace in knowing they did their part.
The Smithsonians are a real gift to all of us, I think, here in DC, in the DC area, as well as throughout the country and throughout the world, and something worth protecting.
The White House spokesperson also responded to our question, saying instead of catering to the concerted efforts to rewrite American history and adopt left-wing ideology aimed at diminishing American achievement, President Trump is honoring our country's extraordinary heritage and restoring a sense of national pride. Jim Millward tells us that citizen historians have added the Kennedy Center and National Gallery to the spaces they are documenting, and now they are working to obtain grant money to pay staff and hire interns to maintain the data they've collected and find a way to make it available to the public so that people know that as of October 2025, this was what these institutions were saying about art, history, and science. I'm Tracee Wilkins with the News 4 I Team.